Okay, that's kind of cool. We have a little mesh pocket here, as well as a headphone hole. I don't know if anyone really has like wired headphones these days. Headphone slot really necessary in today's day and age? Probably not. Probably not.
Probably not.
I still do wired headphones. Lets people know I can't for the mesh pocket might never work.
To get away from
I know a lot about clothing. I'm still using my many outdoors. Clearly, my comments on the Kirkland hoodie is quite controversial. Let me get this clear. I have no problem with wired headphones. I have no problem with in-ear monitors. What I'm just saying is the pocket is very conveniently sized for an original iPod. If we look at the dimensions here, it's about 3 1/4 in its width, 4 inches in its height. And if we look at the dimensions of an original iPod, that is 4 inches in its height, which matches this exactly. And it's about just under 2.5 inches wide. And then if we take the thickness of the iPod, which is about 1/2 inch, and if we take 1/2 inch plus 1/2 inch plus that 2.5, that gives around 3.5 inches for enough fabric to accommodate the original iPod. So again, I have no problems with wired headphones. When I'm saying this is outdated is just conveniently matches the original dimensions of an original iPod. All right, welcome back to Fashion Questions, where we answer questions from our community. Let's get into it. It's Suji on YouTube writes, missed opportunity to try to return the sweater post teardown. Who says we didn't? No, we actually keep everything we've ever cut up because we're gonna do a really cool series and a competition in the future where we're gonna have like a upcycling competition in our development center here. So that's why we're keeping everything. Grant Wu on YouTube writes, have you ever been asked to review a piece for a brand you've worked with? How do you handle that? So when it comes to our platform here on social media, all the things that we review, we buy. We don't accept any sponsored posts. We don't accept any clothing from brands. And we don't actually review anything from brands we have conflicts of interest with. So I try to keep our review side and our media side very much separate from my fashion development side. Ultimately, I want the brands that want to work with us on the fashion development to want to work with us because of our skill set, because of the quality of product we can output, and not because I have a media platform to promote their product. And when it comes to the media side, what we have here is totally based on trust. You as our audience know that everything I'm saying on the show is true because I have no vested interest in the outcome of the products that we review. And I think that if I ever lose that trust with you guys, that it really devalues what I end up saying here. So that's why we always make sure that we are completely unbiased, that I have no conflicts of interest, and that whatever I say on our show is true and you can trust what I'm saying. So I would say like the only way I would feel comfortable working with a brand on a video is if they showed us something that you can't see on the market right now. Like if a brand were to say, hey, come and look at how we actually develop products and how we are different. And I can actually probe them with questions that I want to probe them with and show you guys that process. That's something I might be interested in, but I am never going to take clothing here just to be paid to review. That being said, we do a lot of prototyping here and 3D printing, and we use a lot of technology. So if a 3D printing company, maybe Bamboo Labs, wants to sponsor us, or maybe even Shopify, I'd be open for that. But we will never take clothing here to review. Not Jason writes, could you do a pilling test on Canada Goose knitwear? Those used to be our employee uniforms, but I swear they pilled after a week of wear. You are just in luck. We're gonna be starting a brand new series that we're gonna be calling Will It Pill, where we'll be testing weekly all the fabrics, first from our back catalog of all the things we reviewed, and show you guys how resistant is it to pilling? What does pilling actually mean? And what fabric should you be looking for if you want something that's gonna be more durable and last you a lot longer? So stay tuned for that. Riley Dansby writes, would love to see a video analyzing some of the go-to blank sweatshirts for screen printers like Gildan, Independent Trading Company, Port & Company, Jerseys, great info. We have a mega video that we're actually planning where we're probably gonna work with a screen printer here in Toronto. We're actually gonna buy a bunch of different blanks from all the different brands. We're gonna compare tolerances. We'll see how they are for printing, how they are for different techniques, but that is a video that's gonna be coming down the road. Uncle Peepo on YouTube writes, the designer clothes at Costco, Calvin Klein, Steve Madden, etc. Are those clothes that have defects? Clothing has been overproduced, didn't sell well in stores? Thank you for your videos, love the content. So when it comes to places like Costco, I highly doubt that is clothing with defects or clothing that's been overproduced. Just because Costco orders so much product. If you're gonna be buying kind of like overproductions of units, that's probably gonna be more of a TJ Maxx, which is gonna be a Winners or Marshalls that would buy that kind of inventory. And typically they buy like pennies on the dollar. Costco is such a large player that more often than not, you have to actually set up a supply chain to be able to even produce enough products for them. Because if you're out of stock and you're not able to continue to feed them with products, you're in a lot of trouble. So a lot of brands, they might be licensed. So it might be a factory or a supplier that's buying a license to use these brands like Calvin Klein, Steve Madden, etc., to put on the products to sell into Costco. But I highly doubt that these are overproduction runs of products. And if you're actually curious, all the clothing at Costco, if you just look under the rack, you can actually see what the supplier is for all these products. So that's a little tip. Johnny Obama writes, is there a site or list with all your score rankings? So that's something that Zach needs to work on so we can put it in our videos. So that's definitely something we're going to be adding to our videos. We're just kind of like in the thick of getting content out and running the business, but that is something we are absolutely gonna add at the end after their scores in upcoming videos. Super Yoga Girl on YouTube writes, is luxury a waste of money or is it just hype? Secondly, are there any brands that ensure the workers are paid fairly and treated with respect? So I would say when it comes to luxury fashion, and is it just a hype or a waste of money, that it really is going to depend on the individual user. People buy clothing for different reasons. Some people buy it just so that they're covered in public. Some people buy clothing because it actually is a form of self-expression and artistry. So it's really going to be dependent on the individual user. Is luxury fashion more expensive because it is significantly better than clothing you can buy from other stores? Not necessarily. As we've seen in our videos, there's a lot of luxury fashion houses that are doing clothing that actually aren't great. On the other end, there are going to be some luxury brands that, while it might be stupidly expensive, like the Balenciaga $1,000 t-shirt, it was extremely well made. It's not something that's always gonna be a one-to-one trade-off between cost and product. There is gonna be a significant brand presence that plays a part there, and ultimately the quality of that product is what those customers demand from that brand at the end of the day. And when it comes to brands that are ensuring that the workers are paid fairly or treated with respect, like ones I can think of top of mind from our community would have been obviously Patagonia. There's a brand called Asket, which we haven't reviewed yet, but apparently they have a very transparent supply chain. So I'd say this day and age, most brands are quite aware that if consumers find out that they are, working with sweatshops or other unscrupulous players, that they're gonna get a lot of shit from their consumers. So a lot of brands ensure that the factories they're working with have certain compliance standards. And these are social compliance standards such as SEDEX, RAP certifications, BSCI compliance that ensures fair working conditions for the workers. So that's how consumers can influence brands to do better. And even large brands like H&M, they actually list on their website all the suppliers that they work with. So that's another way you can look into who you're ultimately supporting. Okay, so that is it for this week's episode. Please leave your comments down below. Our next video that's coming out is gonna be our Uniqlo heat tech video, which is super exciting. We're bringing a lot more technical data testing to that one. So be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Until next time.